Before we get started, I would like to take a moment of silence in memory of Rosalind Carter, please. Thank you. Welcome to the November 28th City Council meeting. Please stand for the invocation by Councilman Helgeson, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Dear Lord, we thank you so much for this wonderful day. We thank you for this time of Thanksgiving, where we get to pause and thank you for our inestimable blessings, the freedom that we have in this country, our healthy bodies and minds, friends, neighbors, a good city, safety, warm beds, food, the ability to gather peaceably, the ability for folks to come and express their grievances. And Lord, as they do, and as we debate these matters today, I pray that we will do it in a spirit of humility, that we will seek your wisdom, that we'll seek your guidance, that we'll seek a spirit of tranquility and thanksgiving, because the best gift of all has been the fact that your Son died for our sins. We thank you so much for this ability for us to gather. Pray that you'll direct us and give us wisdom, help us to be collegial, help us to strive to serve and please you, and give us the wisdom that only comes from you. We thank you for all the many blessings. I pray that you'll bless our meeting. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, well, we have a very special recognition tonight. The 2023 University of Lynchburg field hockey team compiled a 21-3 record, which included capturing the program's 22nd Old Dominion Athletic Conference Championship and making its 23rd appearance in the NCAA tournament, where they advanced to the national quarterfinals for the 6th time in program history. The regular season included a perfect 9-0 record in the conference play to secure the ODAC's regular season championship and the top seed in the conference tournament, along with a final national ranking of 11th. The Hornets saw 8 women named to the all-conference teams, including sophomore forward Marlu Wendricks being named Defensive Player of the Year, and freshman midfielder, oh gosh, I don't want to mess this up, Kanye? Okay, Mizzy? Okay, being named Rookie of the Year. Head coach Enza Steele was named the conference's Coach of the Year. Yay, that's wonderful. Coach Steele concluded her 45th and final season at the helm of the Lynchburg field hockey program with her 4th 20-win season, 22nd ODAC championship, and 23rd NCAA tournament appearance. Steele won her 650th career game during the season and concluded her career with 666 career field hockey wins, making her the coach with the most wins in Division III history and the 3rd coach with most wins across all divisions. Including more than 200 wins as the head women's lacrosse coach, Coach Steele has been responsible for 907 total career wins. She completes her storied tenure on a streak of 24 straight seasons with a winning record of 42 for her career. Her teams won 9 consecutive ODAC championships from 2006 to 2014. A graduate of William Patterson College, Steele has served as the senior women's administrator at Lynchburg and was inducted into the National Field Hockey Coaches Association Hall of Fame in 2020. and the University of Lynchburg Hall of Fame earlier this year. I would now like to invite Coach Steele and her team up to the dais to be recognized.
Go Hornets!
Coach Steele, you're more than welcome to stand and say a few words if you'd like to. You want to say a few words? I think you've earned it.
I just want to say thank you all for this recognition and this great field hockey team. We started the season not knowing what we were going to have, and every single day, hard work showed perseverance, and we just continue to win, and we're happy for that. And for Lynchburg, I came here from New Jersey. I was going to stay 5 years and head back because I thought the South was going to be too slow for a Jersey girl. After 5 years, my players are like, you are not going anywhere. And changed my license plate, bought a house, and 40 years later, I'm retiring from here. And, yep, go Lynchburg.
That's wonderful. Thank you so much, and congratulations. I think we also have the Bonner students from the University of Lynchburg here as well tonight. If you want to, well, once the team leaves, you want to stand. All right, if y'all want to stand, the Bonner students. Yay. Thank you, and we have our very own Kyle back there. Kyle, if you want to stand by yourself. Kyle works for us up in the city offices and helping us out up here, so thank you so much. Okay, also one administrative item, just for the record, earlier in our work session, when we were doing the closed item, I just wanted to make sure that on the record, we also referenced the 3M company with the aqueous film forming foams product liability litigation.
That's correct, Madam Mayor, and also that closed session was pursuant to sections 2.2-3711A7 and 3711A8 of the Code of Virginia 1950 as amended.
Okay, yes. Is that good?
Yes,
You're
ma'am.
there? Okay, thank you. All right. One moment, please. Pass those down, please. One needs to go to Alicia too, please. Pass these down, please. I would like to make a motion to amend tonight's agenda to include discussing the adoption of a resolution to censure Councilman Missions and to temporarily suspend the City Council's rules of procedure to allow this action. This would be added to the top of the general business section for tonight. Do I have a second?
Sir.
Okay. This motion is based on the following. Councilmember Missions has threatened the city staff with mandamus actions and has insulted city staff and fellow council members. Councilmember Missions has attempted to illegally impose council authority in city personnel matters that are by law and contract the domain of the city manager. Councilmember Missions has attempted to solicit assistance for a plan to set up a fellow council member at a town hall meeting. Further, there is a desire of a majority of city council to visit and discuss this issue. Additionally, numerous citizens have expressed concerns concerning Councilmember Missions' behavior. Councilman Taylor, would you like to speak to your second? No. Is there any further discussion?
For adding this on the agenda?
Yes.
No. I mean, yes, absolutely to discuss it. I mean, we have a full docket. Some of us have been going and working since 7:30 this morning, teaching school, running back to Finance Committee, then having our regular planned scheduled work session this afternoon, only to then continue to come back tonight to have something on here that has never been brought before council until this thing that you just passed out. So I don't think it's appropriate or pertinent to be able to put that on the agenda tonight. I don't think it's wise, it's not prudent. It goes against the very thing that I prayed for just 2 minutes ago, 5 minutes ago. When I asked to pray, I didn't realize the element of it because I didn't think it was anything like this would have been coming. When I prayed for collegiality and civility and kindness in this Thanksgiving season. This isn't a time to be able to bring up things against a fellow council member, regardless of what you feel. I don't think it's appropriate to bring something up without any ability to look at it other than this 30 seconds that you just read and handed it to us. I think it's out of order. I think it's improper and impertinent, and I think it's wrong. It sets a bad precedent. Rather than working together for the good, we're looking at ways to divide. I think it's wrong, and it doesn't need to be on the agenda tonight. If you want to have something brought up at a later date, you have that prerogative. As the mayor, you get to put things on the agenda. You could have put this on the agenda and had it on the agenda where we could have at least read it ahead of time. I think this is very bad action. It looks nothing but political. Regardless of whatever motives you have on there, I think it's wrong. And it's a very bad way to start this evening. And I don't think it's good for us to do this at this time. Years ago, and so I don't think it should be on the agenda. And hopefully if you want it on the agenda, put it on the agenda at an appropriate time. You're the one that talks about procedures quite often. Says things need to be done procedurally, where you put it on ahead of time. I think this is a hit job. I think it's wrong, and I will not be voting for it, and I hope the rest of council does the same.
Any further discussion? Further discussion? Councilman Missions?
Yes, Madam Mayor. I just want to kind of point out a couple things here. One is, if you had an issue with me personally, it would have been nice for you to bring that to me, to sit down and have a one-on-one discussion, because we haven't actually had a one-on-one discussion, I think, since we were all sworn in, you and I. I know that there was an attempt through somebody who's in the room here, actually, and we attend the same church. Pastor Jonathan Falwell offered to meet with both of us to address this matter, and I was not the one who declined. So I just want to make sure that that is on the record. I was not the one who declined. And there has been attempts from other people to resolve a personal matter between you and I, because that's what I believe that this is. I would be happy to sit down with you one-on-one and discuss these things. And obviously, I don't know, am I allowed to vote on, what's the rule on that?
I think you could vote on the issue of your censure. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not necessarily a conflict of interest per se, because you wouldn't be getting any financial gain. I suppose you could abstain if there's a fine that's associated with it, if you believed you couldn't participate fairly or impartially in the transaction as a member of a group. But I think it would be up to you as to whether you participated.
So I just want to make sure that you don't think there's any conflict of interest if I participate in a vote on this?
And not that I'm aware of.
Okay.
But conflicts of interest, as you know, are decisions of
Yeah.
council members.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, if you want to get together one-on-one, I'd be happy to do it and have a discussion. I think that would be the best way to resolve this. And that's all I have to say.
Any further discussion? Councilman Dolan?
Well, I support putting this on the agenda, because I think this is not just about a personality conflict between the two of you. I think this is about our community, and I think that we need to address this issue for the benefit of our community.
Okay. Just for the purpose of setting the record straight, since there are people here that think that what you just said was true, I've spoken to Pastor Falwell, and I did not deny meeting with him. And it was his idea to have a lunch with you, and he told me that you've yet to respond to his email request to meet with you. So if you would like to call him a liar, I would take that up with him. Let's call the vote to add this to the agenda. Thank you. Okay, this will be added.
The rules of procedure are suspended because that's what the vote was actually on. The motion was to suspend the rules of procedure. I'm going to go ahead and take the floor because the motion was to suspend the rules of procedure, Madam Mayor.
The motion was to
suspend the rules of procedure.
temporarily suspend the rules of procedure to add this to the agenda because this had not gone through the work session. That was what the motion was for. Moving on.
So can we clarify on what the motion was?
So as I recall, the motion was to temporarily suspend the rules of procedure for purposes of allowing the immediate amendment of the agenda. It wasn't to forever suspend the rules of procedure to allow inefficiency of the remainder of the council meeting.
So now the rules of procedure have been suspended temporarily.
They've only been suspended temporarily to allow the additional item that was just voted upon to be added to the agenda.
Fair enough.
Tonight's City Council agenda is divided into 4 sections: consent agenda, public hearing, public comment, and general business. The first section is consent agenda. This section includes routine items, and all items may be approved by one vote. May I have a motion on the consent agenda?
On this, I guess before we do, if we can, pull out the minutes from October 24th on. My iPad wasn't working. Our meeting went long. Finally popped up. I was able to get to the meeting minutes up until October 10th, which I think Alicia, when I spoke with her earlier today, she said there's only another month. But if we can pull out then October 24th under the consent, I'd appreciate it.
How would that read then? Just want to say.
You just pull out October 24th meeting minutes and then
Consent agenda would be as amended.
as amended.
As amended, yeah.
Okay. As amended. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, please vote.
The motion passes 7-0.
The next section is public hearings. This section includes all public hearings as required by law or as council may direct. Procedure: staff will make a presentation. Comments will then be solicited from the public. An individual speaker shall have 3 minutes to speak. If the speaker represents a group, the speaker shall have 5 minutes. A speaker representing a group shall identify that group at the beginning of his or her remarks, and a group may have only one spokesperson. Each speaker shall clearly state his or her name and locality of residence. Upon the conclusion of public comments, the public hearing will be closed and the matter referred to council for deliberation. Consideration of adopting an ordinance authorizing the sale, grant, conveyance, and/or disposal of city-owned real estate to Giffen Pipe Products Co., LLC. Staff will provide a brief summary of the request. Mr. Tim Mitchell.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of council. This is a follow-up to the presentation that we did on the October 24th work session, the business item briefing on Griffin Pipe, U.S. Pipe, and the Blackwater Creek CSO Tunnel, and the property agreements associated with that. Since that time, we have been working with Griffin Pipe to execute a memorandum of understanding outlining the items that were discussed in the business item briefing as far as the property transactions. And that MOU was signed on November 3rd by the city manager and the CEO of Griffin Pipe. And it includes the key agreements that we've previously discussed, and I'll touch on those again briefly. But it also fast tracks items that are necessary to allow us to bid the project in mid-January and meet the tight timeline of the ARPA funding that we have for the project. And then the MOU also outlines the items that require council approval to move forward. So the memorandum of understanding is contingent upon council approval of these items. So some key provisions in the MOU. The light green area is the parcel that U.S. Pipe will be conveying to the city of Lynchburg for the purpose of building the tunnel. The item 2 is grants temporary construction easements on a number of parcels to allow for improvements to the U.S. Pipe property to allow us to be able to take over the parking lot needed to build the tunnel. And then the red item is what's before you tonight. That's the city parcel that will be conveyed upon council approval to U.S. Pipe. Additional things that will happen after the first of the year would be one more point. The closing for the transactions, the first 3 transactions shall occur by mid-January. So that was also included in the MOU so that we could bid the project. And the goal to complete the following items will be completed by June 2024. And it involves vacating a portion of Adams Street, granting an easement through city property to allow their employees to park in a parking lot that we'll be constructing, and also cleaning up a little parcel where actually 7th Street does not actually connect to Adams Street, so it allows access for the city use through that area. Just to recap, this is the parcel that will be conveyed to the city. The appraised value of that parcel is $20,000. This is the parcel that we will be conveying to U.S. Pipe or Griffin Pipe. That parcel is appraised at $24,000, and we are receiving about $600 per month in revenue for this parking lot, so we'll be losing that revenue. And the recommendation is, upon the conclusion of the public hearing, to authorize the conveyance of the property to U.S. Pipe, contingent with the conditions of the MOU. And this will require a second reading in December. So I'll be glad to answer any questions after the conclusion of the public hearing.
Okay, thank you very much. I'll call you back up if we need to. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor? Anyone here to speak in opposition? Any voicemails from citizens? There are none. Okay, well, the public hearing is now closed and the matter rests with council.
So moved.
Oh, okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
No, I think we talked about this. Mr. Mitchell had brought this up a while ago. It looks like it's in helping a good partner downtown that's been one of the few businesses that have stayed downtown for a long period of time. We've had lots of turnover recently, so I'm very thankful to see them staying and glad that this can work out for their mutual benefit. So thank you for working on it.
Do you want to speak to your second?
No additional comments. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? No? Okay, go ahead and vote.
The motion passes 7-0.
Great. Okay. Consideration of adopting a resolution authorizing certain portions of the City of Lynchburg real estate to be dedicated as conserved open space land, Jefferson Park and Tinbridge Hill Overlook. Staff will provide a brief summary of the request. Mr. Wyatt Woody.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. If you remember back on October 24th at our work session, a business item briefing regarding the Jefferson Park as well as the Tinbridge Overlook. Both those properties were renovated and added new amenities to those. Because of those renovations, additional stormwater was going to be created. The recommendation was for the stormwater to be resolved by the conserved open space. Conserved open space is a low-cost and state-approved method for taking care of stormwater. The recommendation from staff would be to approve the resolution for the deeds, and I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have after the public comment section.
Okay, thank you so much. Appreciate that. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor? Anyone who wants to speak in opposition? Any voicemails from citizens? Okay. Public hearing is now closed and the matter rests with council. Do I have a motion?
So moved. Second.
Okay. Would you like to speak your motion?
Yes, I believe these are funds in relation to the CDBG funds? Yes, sir. The improvement area? Yes, sir. Can you speak to that for a second? Just so we all kind of know what's going on. I'm sorry.
So previously, the City Council approved the Community Development Block Grant funding for the projects. This was in Timbridge and in the Deerington neighborhoods. In 2022, 23, and 24, the council was able to approve funding of up to $1.1 million for the improvements of these facilities. And, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yep, and this is related to that transaction as far as the additional work that was needed?
Yes, sir.
Okay. And it's also, I'm glad that several citizens in our community are on that committee as well from those particular neighborhoods that were in favor of those improvements to our community. Yeah.
Yes, sir. And Jefferson Park is, phase 2 of that project is hope to be underway pretty soon. That's out to bid as we speak.
Great, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Councilor Hurley? To speak? No? Any further discussion? Okay, let's go ahead and vote.
The motion passes 7-0.
Okay. Consideration of adopting a resolution granting a revocable license agreement with Flock Group, Inc. Staff will provide a brief summary of the request. Police Chief Ryan Zunema.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, members of the council. As you recall, this was brought before you as a business item briefing on October 24th, and this is to provide a license agreement with Flock Group Incorporated to give them access to install fixed license plate reader cameras in city right-of-way. The license plate readers, as we've talked about in the past, are something that is a great piece of technology that helps us leverage limited resources in order to identify everything from stolen vehicles to wanted persons to missing juveniles or adults, and do that in a very efficient manner. I have with me today Ms. Amy Cornell and Shane McGregor from Flock, and if okay, I'd ask one of them to come up, Amy to come up at this point for a presentation on the system.
Thank you.
Why I forgot he had pictures.
Thank you so much. Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, members of council. Thank you for the opportunity to be here. As Chief mentioned, my name is Amy Cornell. I'm a Community Affairs Manager with Flock Safety. And I have just a brief presentation. I want to talk to you a little bit about the technology. And then following any public comment, I'd be happy to answer any questions, as is my colleague Shane. So I want to just give you kind of a general idea of what the company is and what we do. Some of you may be familiar with it. So the ultimate goal is really to work together as a community to eliminate crime and build a safer future. That's working all together with law enforcement, community, schools, businesses. To give you a little bit of history on the company, we started in 2017, and this was a result of our president and founder, who he and his neighbors were the victims of crimes, car break-ins, home invasions, things like that. He did have video evidence that he was able to bring to police at the time, and this was in Atlanta where the company started. But at the time, the feedback that he received was, you know what, this is great, but this is not going to help us catch these suspects. So he set out to create a product that was affordable, ethical, easy to use, and had many privacy protections in place for everyone. So want to tell you just a little bit about where we think this can be an opportunity for Lynchburg Police. This is really a technology that can help multiply the force. When you can't have a police officer on every corner, at least you'll have technology that can help catch some suspects, and as the chief mentioned, also with silver alerts, missing adults as well as missing children. So I want to spend a couple of minutes on how the technology works. What you're seeing in this photograph here is similar to what you would see on a flock camera. This is the back of a vehicle. You see the license plate, the make and model of the vehicle, the color of the vehicle. What you're not seeing in that photograph is anybody who's occupying the vehicle, any driver, anybody who is riding in that car. These are infrastructure free. You're getting 24/7 coverage, and you're getting real-time alerts from the National Crime Information Center database, as well as Amber alerts from the NCMEC, the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. Also, as I mentioned, they're ethically made. You're not seeing any people. There's no facial recognition and no traffic enforcement. It's just getting objective evidence to law enforcement. So as I mentioned, what this is, license plate recognition software. You're getting objective evidence about vehicles, only used to solve crime, and works closely with state laws. What it isn't, facial recognition. There's no personally identifiable information contained in Flock. And the data is not stored beyond a 30-day period. So it will be automatically hard deleted, stored in the cloud, and is deleted after that 30-day period. Some of the ways that the technology can deter and eliminate crime, the proactive piece, if you have a stolen vehicle, somebody's driving it through your city, for example, law enforcement would have the ability to catch that person before more crime is committed here, as well as the investigative piece, and the cameras themselves serving as a deterrent. So I want to spend a minute just on protecting privacy and some of the safeguards that we have in place to ensure that. So the footage will never be sold or shared by Flock. A search reason is required for an audit. So the police department, whoever is administering and managing the system, can go in and audit at any time. So the police chief can go in and say, I want to see how the system is being used. Everybody has a separate login. They would need a case number or a search reason to go in and actually be able to pull up information. So for example, you wouldn't be able to choose a camera and say, I'd like to find all the red trucks that pass by that camera. You'd need a specific case number or reported crime. As I mentioned, no facial recognition software or personally identifiable information, and all data is stored securely in the Amazon Web Services cloud. This is the most secure available to government agencies, and it's also encrypted end-to-end. We also offer, I also want to mention, it's not connected to registration third-party databases that include CarMax or the DMV, anything like that. Wanted to mention something that's unique to us. This is the transparency portal. This is something that we offer as part of the contract with each department. So basically, you would be able to show the community how the system is being used. You could show, I know that's a little small, and I'm sorry about that, but basically what you're seeing there is you could link your policy on there. You could show the community specifically what's being detected, what's not being detected, as well as different jurisdictions that the police department is sharing with locally. Want to end on a few examples. This one is an escaped prisoner. This was actually somebody who escaped from a Wisconsin prison. Suspects stole a truck, and the officers there had entered the information into the NCIC database, popped up in Alexandria, and it was that person, thankfully, was able to be stopped and identified because of that hit on the camera, and the suspect was arrested. This is a homicide and carjacking case out of Louisville, Kentucky. So this is actually in June of this year. Police had received a report of a suspect who had shot and killed an individual and then had carjacked an eyewitness. The only lead was information on the vehicle. That they didn't have the license plate, just a description of the vehicle. So they were able to put that into the database. In about 20 hours, that vehicle popped up on a flock camera, and the police there were able to identify that suspect, identify that vehicle, make a stop, and arrest the suspect who still had the gun that was actually used in that homicide inside that vehicle. We had mentioned missing persons, and I wanted to highlight this case because this is actually out of Akron, Ohio, and this woman had been reported missing by her family, but they didn't know where she went. Her car was missing. Her information was put into the database, and she was actually found 500 miles away from her home. And thankfully, it was because her vehicle showed up on that flock camera that she was able to be safely reunited with her family. And then I will end on this example. This is an Amber Alert out of Chamblee, Georgia. It's a suburb of Atlanta. And this was this woman was pushing her baby in a stroller. She was walking down the street. They were in her neighborhood. She was approached by masked and armed suspects who actually grabbed the child, ran off, threw the child in the vehicle, and took off. So she did not get the license plate number in this case, but what she did get was a vehicle description. She was able to reach out to the police and give them that information. They thankfully found this vehicle after there was a hit on a flock camera, showed up on the camera in Alabama, so it was a state away, and it was about 5.5 hours later. And thankfully, this child was unharmed, and he was able to be reunited with his family. And that concludes my presentation. Like I said, we're available for questions if needed.
Thank you so much.
The other part to, just for clarification, is on a part of the agenda item summary, is a gunshot detection system that is also coupled with this as a part of the overall project. And that is basically, for lack of better terms, microphones that are strategically placed. They'll cover a 1 square mile radius. And when a gunshot goes off in that area, it will alert us through this technology within a matter of seconds so that we can more quickly and ably respond to any type of gunfire in the city. So, thank you.
Okay, thank you so much. Is there anyone here who would like to speak in favor of this? Anyone here who would like to speak in opposition of this? You have to come to, well, you can come to the, we have to speak either in favor or opposition of it. It's not a conversation.
Can I ask a question before I decide whether I'm in favor or against?
Go ahead.
For a clarifying question.
You can, but we won't be able to respond. That's how the Virginia Code operates for
All right,
public
just for
hearings.
the people in the back then.
Feel free to say what you
Okay,
like.
so I thought, and I may have misunderstood, that it's going to look at the license plates, and it said something about not identifying people in the car, and then 2 of the examples were, one, an older at-risk woman was identified with this, and it didn't say it was her car, it said she was identified, which means it was used to identify a person. And then there was the Amber Alert. Obviously, the kid doesn't own a car, and she was identified using this technology, which sounds a little creepy, just saying. So I know you can't answer me, but for the people in the back, it means they do and can use this to identify you in a car. Thank you.
Is there anyone who would like to speak in opposition? Any voicemails from citizens? Okay. Public hearing is now closed, and the matter rests with council. Do I have a motion?
Move for approval.
Okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Oh, sorry, go ahead, please, Rush.
You know, we discussed it at the last city council meeting. You know, no system is perfect, but again, it just gives our police department another tool in the toolkit to address issues. You know, we get several calls from neighbors saying they've heard gunshots and things of that nature, or certain issues have happened. With now we going like with doorbell cameras and various other things to help assist in catching crime in the act, things of that nature. So it's another tool in our toolkit for us, the police department. Again, it's a way that we can kind of monitor our community more, and also if we see it's not working, we can always, I think, they change the contract or cancel if we need to, but at least it gives us opportunity to try it and see if it works for our community. And I just trust the guys at the police department and our common attorney in this process. Thank you.
Councilman Taylor?
Can I have the flock representative come back? How were these 2 people identified? One was carjacking, and the older lady was what?
She was a missing person, so she was reported missing by her family, so they were actually the ones who made the report and gave the police department her name.
So how did they know what car she was in?
That information was given by her family. It was provided to the police department by her family. But it's a great question, and I'm happy to clarify if I can that issue. Yes, so it's just a photograph that needs to be independently verified. So the actual license plate is photographed when it drives by a camera, but the police will still have to do their police work in determining if they were to determine that this actually was a vehicle that was part of a crime or used as part of a crime, they wouldn't be able to identify that person without independently verifying it. So the photograph itself does not contain personally identifiable information. They would have to do that legwork to identify this photograph was a vehicle that was used in a crime, and then verify that.
Okay.
Any other, Councilman Huglison?
You know, as I said, you can sit down, I'm not. You know, I hear this and it sounds, you know, we had a pretty lengthy discussion on this a couple weeks ago. Lots of concerns. I can appreciate how it can be helpful, but I also can appreciate how helpful things can threaten our very freedoms. And with that, I see this kind of technology being helpful, new, but it's also can be ripe for abuse. You know, right now there's GP or Chat GPT. Everybody who's in education is wondering, how is that going to be used? It can be great, but it can also be used and abused. It can be ripe for abuse. I think this kind of new technology, even though it may not be as new because there's been license plate readers that our police department has had over time, but with that, an outside organization having the license, I'm fearful that this kind of thing will be ripe for abuse. I know that there's lawsuits now against this organization in federal court. There's privacy, under privacy concerns, under the Fourth Amendment. I can appreciate that it can work good to possibly be more safe, but I think Ben Franklin said, you know, those who are going to sacrifice liberty for safety will eventually have neither. A long time ago he said that. A long time ago he penned that and wrote that, but it's still just as applicable today. As we sit up behind this dais and we have to make prudent decisions that say, yes, this is definitive, a great thing. Or, I got some reservations, but I could reluctantly vote for it. I got to live with my vote. And as I see this being presented, the way it's presented today, I think there can be some very good things. But I also feel that it can be ripe for abuse. I have to live with my vote. Knowing what I know, I'm not convinced that this is a good thing. And I'll be voting in opposition to it, and maybe at a later date we can utilize it and it'll be fine. But when outsiders are holding that information, I recognize the world we live in has changed. And I don't like the speed that it's going. I graduated from high school in 1984. The book by George Orwell sounds very too close to my liking. I hope we can figure out ways that we can help solve crime, put criminals in jail, lock them up, and punish them without infringing upon the rights of our lawful, law-abiding citizens, that we don't violate the Fourth Amendment of unlawful search and seizure. I'm concerned about it, and I can appreciate again how it could benefit, but at this time, I'm not convinced that it's in the best interest of the city of Lynchburg and the citizens. I'll be voting against it.
Any discussion? Councilman Taylor?
On the other hand, there was a shooting, about 2 months ago on Walnut Street, about 2 o'clock in the morning. It was a black vehicle. It went down through Main Street, apparently. Had we had something, the shots fire, and this instrument in place, we probably have those people on the arrest about now. So I'll be voting in favor of it.
Dr. Walter?
Yeah, again, my other comment is that, so many times we want a safe community, and we always ask ourselves, what is the police department doing? And we want to stow thumbs, we want to say, oh, they're not doing enough, they're not doing this, they're not doing that. So they're bringing some other things to us in our toolkit that we can address some of these issues. So that's why I support them, because again, they're seeking ways to make our community more safer. That's why I support our police department in this effort. Thank you.
Councilman Missions?
So I'm not so sure that this is really the right way to go. It just kind of has a big government, big brother feel to it that makes me extremely uncomfortable. And I just don't know where it could end up. I know that it's great technology as far as what you guys have done with it and developed, but it's not about what it can do now. It's about what it could do in the future, and this is the private sector. So we're also toying around with the idea of the private sector having access to this data or collecting this data for us. And right now, I think it's a privately held company, right? And so you have the values, you have the what your owners, you're following those values. But if this were ever to become publicly traded, then it's to the shareholders. And when it's to the shareholders, then it's all about profit. And who's the biggest payer of profits? Who gives the biggest contracts? The government. And that is my concern, I just think it's too much power to give to the government.
I think, one of the things I've done since our last conversation, I've had additional conversations with some families of victims we've lost in the city to violence, and they're all in support of it. I think those are some people that have some loud voices that we need to listen to, because they are willing to do whatever it takes, or would have done whatever it would have taken to save their family members. And some of this technology could have helped at least slow down some of these crimes. I know the data that we heard, some of the information we heard last time was about the number of abductions that were stopped because of this technology. I know that some of our neighboring counties use this, and it's interconnected, and if we tag on into the system, or we can tag on to the counties, then we can follow criminals that are fleeing from one county to the next. That it just helps. It's extra eyes, and especially when we're looking at deficits in sheriff's departments and police departments throughout the counties and the cities. We need extra eyes. This helps with manpower issues, and it helps solve crimes faster. And again, to Dr. Wilder's point, I mean, we're asking more and more of our law enforcement community all the time. And when we have these types of abilities, I don't know why we would turn them down, especially when we see the success rate that they're providing. And if we have the ability to pull out of this contract, if we see that it's going a direction that we don't like it, then I think we do that if we have concerns at some point. So, but anyway, we had an exhausted conversation last time y'all were here. I think we've kind of heard a lot of the same points tonight, so let's just go ahead and vote.
The motion passes 4-3.
Exhausted. You know what I mean. All right, moving on to public comment. The next section is public comment. During public comment, individual speakers have 3 minutes to speak, and those representing a group have 5 minutes to speak. Typically, City Council takes comments made during the public comment section of the agenda under advisement and may refer concerns to the city manager for follow-up. Citizens often express conflicting and diverse positions regarding specific issues under consideration. To encourage citizen participation and to avoid intimidation to persons who may express sometimes unpopular opinions, applause, cheers, or jeers from the audience are not permitted. When appearing before City Council, citizens may not engage in behavior that intimidates or insults others, engage in disruptive behavior, use profanity or vulgar language, promote private business ventures, or campaign for office. We will now hear from a group representative regarding thanking the city, presenting the mayor with a T-shirt from the tournament, National Invitation Tournament, Andy Dooley, USA Softball of Piedmont, Virginia. Please restate your name and locality of residence.
Andy Dooley. I live at 7938 West Lynchburg, Salem Turnpike in Faxton, Virginia, and you can't get that on a sign. But thanks for the opportunity to speak, Madam Mayor, Mayor, rest of the council members. Probably something you don't get a lot, but I want to say thanks for the partnership. I want to walk you back just a second in history. This may be the city in the Commonwealth of Virginia that's been partnership that was ASA softball for 80 years. Now it's USA softball. But this city has been involved for a long time. I'll give my age away if I tell you when I played at E.C. Glass High School. But along with that, I want you to know for what you've done, we inducted you into the Hall of Fame for USA Softball of Piedmont, Virginia several years back. We had new leadership. This gentleman over here is Parks and Recreation Director. I did that for about 30 years, and I had the pleasure of working with him over the last several years. But this event we did for special needs population was wonderful. Thank you for coming out for the opening ceremonies. Over 2 years, we've had over 30 teams to come to the city and play. And the cooperation we got from Parks and Rec, Economic Development and Tourism, and everybody else was involved was outstanding, just outstanding. Couldn't ask for better partners. Also, let me just say to you, I know you're probably interested in when could we come back. We did too good of a job. Going to Pittsburgh and next year, Oklahoma City in 25, 26, the national games will be played in Minnesota. So we're looking at 27. So we got to go another route. And I want to thank you for the improvements that's been made to Peaksview Park. Because I can remember when the floods come through. It's lucky the backstops survived. But with that said, hopefully the improvements you continue to make, that we can put this city on a map. It's not too many places you can go and get a park with 6 fields in one place. That's a tremendous asset. And the hotel accommodations, everybody was good. So I know my time's run out, and I do have a couple shirts, and I hope I'm a good guesser.
I will make it fit.
But just for the people to know, and thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Wide I got one, I don't know if it's wide enough for your shoulders or not. But to let the people know, we have teams here from Canada that travel down, and they told me they spent over $30,000 just to get here. So thank you for your time. Good luck with the rest of your meeting. I've been on that side, so I'm going on this side.
Thank you very much. Okay, we will now hear from a citizen regarding conduct on becoming the office of Lynchburg City Council Member Beth White from Citizens United for Lynchburg.
Do I get to say doctor?
Dr. White, yes. Dr. White.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of council. You are being handed right now screenshots of a council member's government Facebook page that I'm going to be referencing. Beth White, Ward 3, Lynchburg. I don't know why I forgot to do that. In the Declaration of Independence, Jefferson wrote about, quote, a long train of abuses, unquote, and stated that citizens have a right and duty to throw off such government. Well, I'm certainly not advocating to declare our independence from city government. I'm instead calling on one specific member of government, Councilman Misjuns, to do the right honorable thing following a pattern or long train of abuses. In January, you complained you were left off of a committee assignment, which must have been another backroom deal that Mayor Reed made with Democrats. A citizen asked if you had texted the mayor after the email had gone out. You responded by attacking her, stating, quote, "Don't you think LU folks are dweebs?" unquote. Then you lashed out at the same citizen for being Councilwoman Dolan's daughter. Let's talk about school board for a moment. All of the applicants were to be given fair and equal consideration without prejudice and based on their merits. Yet you had already decided on February 8th that the 3 incumbents who were going to be seeking reappointment didn't stand a chance. On April 26th, a private citizen who happened to be a school board member made a comment on your post and disagreed with your position. The very next day, you posted a screenshot of only her comment and then publicly questioned if she had applied for a full-time position and salary negotiation with city schools. Then you threatened the same citizen with a subpoena if she failed to answer your question. On June 20th, there was confusion regarding the names of 2 school board candidates. It was a simple mistake that any one of you could have made and was explained the next day. The language that you posted on Facebook quoting one of the candidates was so profanity-laced that according to the rules, I am not allowed to quote it. On June 28th, you state that Mayor Reed pays into divisive concepts and political indoctrination. At that council meeting, you pulled out a mysterious laptop with a bullet hole and claimed that someone was shot at while at a fire station. You provided no further context for the incident and made it appear as if it had just happened. Yet, according to comments on your own post, 2 individuals stated that it happened several years ago and was a clear accident with a new gun owner. On August 23rd, you attacked Mr. Friedman, the city attorney, and accused him of weaponizing his position against government transparency. Again, you demanded to read LPD exit interviews. Anyone who did not agree with you on this was deemed to not care about transparency or public safety. August 26th, you remarked that Dr. Wilder does not care about all of Ward 2. When his constituents tried to defend him, you verbally attacked 3 citizens. You bullied 1 citizen about a personal donation to a group of her choice after getting that information from her personal page. She asked you to remove the information as a violation of privacy. Instead, you continued to bully her about it. Other citizens went to that citizen's defense and questioned your motives. You went on the defensive and argued with them. You threatened a citizen that her comments could be construed as libel, which is the basis of a lawsuit. Your wife responded, which is perfectly fine. I would respond to my husband and defend him. You responded to your wife's comments and attacked the citizen for not only being the daughter of, again, Councilmember Dolan, but for having the audacity to question your motives. September 7th, when a citizen asked you to consider the entire context of a nationwide shortage of police officers, you accused her of spewing propaganda. Another citizen stated that Chief Zudema said that it was a national problem. You responded by accusing both citizens of making excuses for LPD. Finally, we have the fiasco that was the attempt to sabotage Vice Mayor Feraldi's town hall. A citizen addressed this matter at the last council meeting, and by the end of the week, was subjected to a video on social media that attacked not the message, but this citizen's character. It was about the most hateful and vicious video that I have ever seen. I've never seen the person who made it at a council meeting. I am also not stating or even alleging that you or Council Member Helgeson had anything to do with this video. I want to make that abundantly clear. I'm merely pointing out that at the tags at the bottom, which you have pictures of, they are the only ones who are personally tagged. The rest of the tags are groups. In less than 1 year, you have verbally attacked your colleagues on council and mostly within your own party 10 times. You bullied private citizens who asked you a question 8 times. You threatened to sue 1, and you made 4 accusations without evidence. This is conduct unbecoming of a member of Lynchburg City Council, and I'm respectfully requesting that you do the honorable thing and resign your post.
Thank you. We're now hear from a group representative regarding things that will make areas in Lynchburg safer. Mr. Robert Flood, Rescues of the Youth Hoop City.
Thank you, Mayor, and the rest of y'all are representatives of the City Council. I was going to speak about that subject, but I got an email this morning saying that I cannot speak about the same subject in 3 months or something. Did I get it right?
You spoke about the schools in the September 26th meeting, and so that took that part out of your public comment, so you can talk about things that make the Lynchburg safer. That would not be in violation of the rules.
Okay, sound good. I have about 200 and some people that have signed us in Ward 2 asking for a precinct that I've been talking about for the last couple months. And I know I've talked to a few people, and they saying that it's a possibility something might be happening. They wanted it yesterday. And I didn't hear Sterling, I didn't hear a couple other people talking about safety. Ward 2 needs some safety. You know, talking about some of the projects that the police could bring in, new technology and all this. This is one of the things we need in Ward 2 is a precinct. If you're really talking about safety and saving people, they got precincts all over the different cities, all over the different places. We only have one police station in Lynchburg. But I think if we had a precinct, I think people would feel a little bit more comfortable, especially the elder people, and knowing that they can go right to that precinct because it ain't like 2 or 3 miles away, 4 or 5 miles. And I'm glad that I talked to a few people and it seemed like they looking into it and positive. And I appreciate that, the ones I talked to. The other thing, I wanted to speak to the young man that left about when was the last time y'all done a survey in Darrington about the gas coming up, the methane gas? When was the last time? And I think you can address that, Ken, when you get a chance. And the other thing that I would like to speak about, you know, it's funny how things happen in Lynchburg. You know, young people, we're always talking about what young people are doing, what they're going through, all the trials and tribulations, and they could easily be misled. But we set them up. It's just like a person tell you something, you're a grown man, and they ask you to give you a resume. It's like a kid want to get a job, they got to get a resume. I had this young man right here, city councilman, 2 months ago, told me to give him a resume. I told him I retired and look for a little part-time work. I haven't heard from him yet. I haven't even had a chance to talk to him when I see him. No conversation. 2 months ago. Why would you ask me for a resume? You didn't do nothing with it. I don't understand that. I wonder why the kids act the way they act. And we got grown folks acting the same way. I'm not 15, I'm over 60. So I don't understand that, you know, when we talk to these kids, we want them to do the right thing. We want them to do positive things. But as soon as something happens, we're ready to send them to the detention home or to alternative school instead of dealing with the behavior problems they have. Some of them got good grades. I work with a lot of young people. Grades are great, but they got behavior problems. But how can we come to some kind of solution to help them with their behavior problems without shipping them on to alternative school or detention home? See, when young people see you doing something, they hear about things happening that grown folks have done, they don't follow the same suit. So we can talk about it all day long, all next year or whatever, but we got to start acting on these things and come together, you know, to save some of these people that the pipeline is right there. And we know what the pipeline is, and we're setting them up for it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from a citizen regarding concerns Community Needs, Dr. Brenda Farmer from the NAACP.
Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council Lady, and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Dr. Brenda Farmer of the Lynchburg NAACP, Unit 7088, to address key concerns in our great city. During the past 11 months, we have witnessed disarray of council coming together in making sound decisions together. Council should concentrate on the concerns of our community, not their personal agendas. What best for our community as a whole body, not satisfying certain areas or interests. Our community elected leaders should exhibit maturity in doing their jobs. The council meetings has been unbefitting to the city that you were elected to serve. You work for us. When do you plan to get back to dealing with topics that affect our city? Like our education system needs help, suggested school closing shut down, youth not able to read. The LCS school needs more mentors to assist our youth. Domestic violence is on the rise. How can we get the word out? Everyone has the right to live in peace. Our homeless has increased. Look around. Our shelters around town are filling up, and some have no more space. The meals at Daily Bread, Salvation Army, and Parkview has tripled. They only do 1 meal a day. More resources are needed to provide more nutritional benefits to those in need. Have you forgotten about the projects that were approved but were swept under the rug, like the gas leak in Darrington, like the sidewalk on Floyd Avenue? Are you waiting on a tragedy before you take action? We need housing with heart to poor, disabled, and disadvantaged through the community. COVID might have set us back a little, but that is no excuse for not doing your responsibility for every citizen. I ask you to take yourself out of the picture and do what's best for Lynchburg. We all wear different lenses, but when it comes to what is best for God's people, we should always show love behind the scene as well as in the front. Once before, I stated we are watching you, and we are watching you, and praying for you to get back to doing your job for every citizen. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from a citizen regarding the removal of Councilmember Martin Missions. Michael Bremer.
Good evening, Mayor Reed, Vice Mayor Feraldi, members of council. I'm Michael Bremer, and I reside in Ward 4. I apologize for my voice. I'm recovering from Thanksgiving gifts. Tonight, I'm sad. I'm sad for our city. I'm sad that the governance of Lynchburg has eroded to the point where I am compelled to advocate for the removal of a council member. In my 35 years of observing Lynchburg City Council, I have never encountered such rancor and distrust among our elected officials. And I believe the primary source of that malevolence and resentment is one member of this council. To help restore decorum and functionality to council tonight, I call for Martin Missions to resign. Mr. Missions, Your impropriety and failure to adhere to standards or demonstrate accountability is cause for concern. Your public behavior has been indecorous, unseemly, and in violation of accepted standards of appropriate professional conduct. Your behavior has been at times unscrupulous, devoid of conscience, with disregard and contempt for laws of right or justice with which you profess to be perfectly well acquainted, but which have nevertheless failed to restrain your actions. Members of council, as you know, last month, Mr. Mischens attempted to enlist a university student to surreptitiously video a fellow council member at a public meeting with the intent of creating a circumstance that would have been detrimental to that council member. Fortunately, the student honorably reported Mr. Mischens' abhorrent behavior. Unfortunately, this action is merely the latest in a long string of unscrupulous and corrosive behaviors by Mr. Mischens that indicates that he is unfit to remain a public official. The conduct of this council member conveys a level of misfeasance in performance of his official duty in an improper manner or with an improper or corrupt motive. Mr. Mischens, should you decline the opportunity to resign from council, I will assert the view of thousands of Lynchburg citizens that for the good of the city, you must leave this position, and I will ask council to go beyond mere censure and propose a resolution to have you removed. I sincerely hope you reflect on your behavior and make the right decision. Thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you. Now hear from a citizen regarding Mr. Mischens' resignation. Ann Morris, please restate your name and locality of residence. Ann Morris? No? Okay. Now hear from a citizen regarding the removal of Marty Mischens' Neil Tosi, or Tosi? Tosi.
I apologize. My wife said print it out. I said no, but this is probably, we'll see. My name is Neil Tosi. I live here in Lynchburg. I'm a Lynchburg native, and my wife and I recently moved back to Lynchburg to start our family. We're ready to invest in our community through the purchase of a house and the start of my business, Hill City Improv. Admittedly, our financial contribution to Lynchburg will not move mountains, but it will be a part of a larger picture that contributes to the overall economic success of our community. I'm terrified of doing all those things, not because they are heavy decisions that involve a lot of details and money, but because our city government does not align with the core values of our family and my business. At our house, apartment, and Hill City Improv, we value equity. We embrace an acceptance of diversity of thought. We think a good chicken parm should be served at least bi-weekly, and Black Lives Matter, period. Martin Mischens is the source of 90% of that worry. A proud bigot to and of the LGBTQIA+ community should not sit on any council in our city. Someone who has no knowledge of the realities of our Black citizens should not be making decisions about them. And someone whose only perspective and sounding board is a community of like-minded evangelicals does not have the perspective to enact positive change in our community. I am not saying an evangelical Christian cannot effectively serve this community. I'm saying an evangelical Christian cannot serve our community when they think our community should only be evangelical Christians. Sorry, this is why I should have printed it out. I beg all of you to look at the economic and moral impact of having Martin Mischens as a city council member. I want my children to live in a just world. When that world cannot be just, I want to see our leaders respond with civility. And Martin Missions has failed on all counts to show us any element of civility while sitting behind this desk. I thank you for your time.
Thank you. We'll now hear from a citizen regarding the school board, Mr. Gary Woodson. Is he here? No? Okay. We'll hear from a citizen regarding the school board, Jim Quattlebaum. Are you speaking for Mr. Quattlebaum?
Yes. Mr. Woodson had an accident and sustained injuries yesterday, and he's asked me to read this statement on his behalf.
That normally is not how this, we don't.
Can we present it to Ms. Finney to read it on his behalf?
Sure, that's fine. Pardon?
I'm happy to pass it out to council members.
You can pass it out to us, that's fine.
Can he just read it?
He can pass it out. We're gonna have her pass it out. That's fine.
Why can't he read it? She reads when people send in an email or a voicemail. We listen to people's voicemail from somebody else that happened not long ago, but.
Madam Mayor, the next on the list is Jim Quattlebaum.
Yeah.
If Mr. Woodson would like to send his comments to me, I'm happy to pass it on to council after the meeting.
Right, that'd be good. We'll do it that way. Jim Quattlebaum, are you here? Yes. And please restate your name and locality resident, Mr. Wellman. Thank you.
Jim Quattlebaum, Ward 1, Lynchburg,
Yeah.
City Council, and professional staff. Good evening. I'm here to speak in applause of the decision by the school board on the issue of the safety room at EC Glass High School. I want to applaud their wisdom in their decision, the 7-2 decision, and I'm just so thankful that we have people on our school board that are really looking after our children. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now hear from a group representative regarding November 2023 Virginia elections and 2024 local elections. Gary Taylor with Citizens for a Better Lynchburg.
Good evening, distinguished Madam Mayor, Mr. Vice Mayor, council members, and the professional, diligent, and dedicated city staff, all of you. My name is Gary Taylor. I am the founder and president of a bipartisan organization called Citizens for a Better Lynchburg, which requires bipartisanship. Most recent election cycle is now complete and yielded some interesting results and provides a preview of how the Commonwealth is trending heading towards 2024, which will be here in a few weeks. Republican governor not only did not flip the Senate red, Virginia Republicans lost their House majority. This will severely limit the governor's ability to pass legislation that voters elected him to implement, and unfortunately, in the education lane, where Virginia continues to fall behind other states. In the Lynchburg area, while Republicans continued their Southwest Virginia overall dominance, an interesting Lynchburg statistic is that Delegate Walker only won Lynchburg by 600 votes. And that was after a tremendous effort by AFP and the Young Republicans with door knocking. So you have to ask why. Well, the answer is obvious. Certain Republican members of City Council issues of division, the debacle within the Lynchburg Republican Party between the two factions, the Youngkin, centrist, big tent, and the Jeff Helgeson, Bob Good, small tent, moral majority faction. So people will have a chance to decide in 2024. So there's no more confusion, because some people want to say, let's all get along. Well, everybody's tried that, and it hadn't worked. So what is the path forward for Lynchburg Republicans to keep the majority on City Council after 2024? First, you need the LRCC to voluntarily rescind their charter or Rich Anderson and the State Central Committee needs to step up and step in to revoke it. Based on all the numerous issues the LRCC has had and continues to have in 2023, and the unequal enforcement of the rules and procedures. We have never been given promised results from the LRCC when he visited Lynchburg several months ago regarding the many controversies within the LRCC and its leadership. As we stated then, because of the election, which is now over. So where's Mr. Anderson? We called for him to come here immediately to resolve this situation. Do the right. Second, continue to respectfully ask for Councilmember Missions to do the right thing for Lynchburg Republican Party and voluntarily resign. And since everybody's praying, I know all good Christians with a conscience are praying for him to do the right thing. If Councilmember Missions will not voluntarily resign, City Council has no choice but to unanimously take necessary steps to remove this toxic and divisive member of council. Why Councilmember Missions must be removed, I would gladly list, but I think the people have listed numerous opportunities. But I want to highlight a couple things. At the next meeting after Mr. Anderson was here, Mr. Missions went on a 5-minute tirade against the vice mayor of Lynchburg. And what has the LRCC done about it? Not one thing. Not one thing. He tried to move forward the DEI resolution, which took up time, precious time for City Council. He accompanied Josh Pratt in harassing former city managed employee John Hughes. What we're looking at is possibly a lawsuit. In closing, the LRCC needs to be removed as the divider, not the uniter of Lynchburg Republicans. And far-right City Council member needs to be removed. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll now hear from a citizen regarding school board issues. Chris David Quigg, please restate your name and residence.
Hello, I'm Chris Quigg, Ward 3 resident. For the past 24 years, I've worked in education, mainly as a special education teacher and now as an assistant teacher. Last year, while helping a middle school girl finish a math assignment, she volunteered this information. Mr. Quigg, I'm so glad I didn't go along with wanting to change my gender like others did in the 5th grade. I asked, why didn't you? Reagan responded, Reagan's not her real name, I'm a girl and I'll always be a girl. No one can really change genders. I told her I agreed with her. She thanked me and excitedly told another student that I was on their side. One reason she was excited and relieved to have an adult ally in the school was due to another teacher admonishing her for misgendering a student. For every student who thinks they can change their gender, there are many others who don't believe that lie. I'm here to represent them, the silent majority, who for the most part are doing their best at school to learn and grow, the ones who don't need any more distractions than what they're already dealing with. These students, the silent majority, want to know they have adults on their side. So thank you, Councilman Missions, for being on their side. Thank you, Lynchburg City School Board, for your vote saying no to the grant at EC Glass from the It Gets Better project. I also have a proposal. If it's true that boys can become girls or vice versa, or even that children can become animals, then let's make all the changes they need. Add restrooms, litter boxes, whatever is necessary. But if it's not true, and the whole of LGBT is only a distraction to moral, character, and citizenship-building education, let's do what's best for all of our students and say no to these type clubs and grants, etc. Again, I applaud Councilman Mischens and others of you who are loyal to the truth. And I applaud the school board for doing the right thing, saying no to the LGBT-related grant. Don't participate in the fruitless works of darkness, but instead oppose them. Ephesians 5:11. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We'll now hear from a citizen regarding the school board, Karen Elizabeth Quigg.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, City Council members. My name is Karen Elizabeth Quigg, Ward 3. What if Paul Revere said no to Dr. Warren, who told him to go to Lexington, Massachusetts, with the news the British are coming? And what if General George Washington returned to Mount Vernon and said no to the presidency after the war? What if Harriet Tubman chose to stay up north instead of returning again and again and again to the south, risking her life to bring others to freedom? And what if Rosa Parks had gotten off that bus in Montgomery, Alabama? And so many other stories, because courage begets courage. Will we ever be a courageous, God-fearing nation again with honest leaders full of integrity and pure motives? Only God knows. So I do want to thank Councilman Mischens, who alerted his constituents about the grant headed to EC Glass, the people who took action, and for the school board's courageous act and did the right thing because it was the right thing to do. Amen. Then, It Gets Better project opens up a wide door, the continual sexual perversion, introducing and indoctrinating children into a lifetime of sin, possibly. Shame on us parents, you parents, and those in leadership who chose not to protect the children. What sorrow awaits you? And this is very personal. I stand before you healed as a survivor and thriver of this sick, evil perversion. Thanks be to God. Statistics show that 1 in 4 girls are sexually abused by the time they're 18, and in the LGBTQ community, it is about 90% that have sexual abuse incidents in their childhood. This is outrageous and so sad. And just as slavery of any kind is appalling to God, so is any sexual perversion, especially to children. But don't listen to me, though. Here's my Savior's words. Jesus said, there will always be temptations to sin, but what sorrow awaits the person who does the tempting. It would be better to be thrown into the sea with a millstone hung around your neck than to cause one of these little ones to fall into sin. So watch out. Luke 17. Our founding fathers were not ashamed to admit they were openly relying on God. Are you? Am I? As a Christian, a mom, an educator, a mental health coach, my heart breaks for these kids. Let kids be kids. Let's raise strong, healthy, God-fearing children with resilience and courage and a backbone. We know what to do. Let's stop the insanity and genuinely help these anxious students. Kids haven't changed, but many adults have. They've stopped adulting, and it has put our nation in grave danger. May God continue to have mercy upon us and help us in this great time of need. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from a citizen regarding council members to hold Councilman Mischens accountable to his actions over the past year, his first year as a council member. Cindy Ferguson.
Hello, council members. My name is Cindy Ferguson. I'm a voting constituent in Ward 1. My comments are in 4 parts. First, council mission and values, at-large member, definition, call to action, and examples of actions of Mr. Mischens. First, our council mission and values. The mission is to deliver services to city residents, workers, and visitors in an efficient, effective, and equitable manner, and to build a stronger community. The values are open communication, personal responsibility, integrity, and customer focus. An at-large definition, according to the Webster Dictionary, at-large means relating to or being a political representative who is elected to serve an entire area rather than one of its subdivisions or wards. In other words, you are representing all of our city and every constituent, whether you agree with them or not, should you consider the needs of everyone in the community, from the most vulnerable to those that are prospering, from our local businesses to our local industry and nonprofit organizations. As a veteran, you have fought for freedom of speech, even with those whom you disagree, and not the hate speech which you have shown in parts of our community. My call to action is several choices. First, for Council Mischins to voluntarily resign as a council member. 2, fellow council members to hold Councilman Mischins accountable to his actions by dismissing or removing him from council for actions unbecoming of a council member. 3, fellow council members to reprimand Councilman Mischins with a vote of no confidence in carrying out the mission and values set forth for council members in a professional and inclusive manner, or in our next election calling for a vote from constituents whether to remove Councilman Mischins. Council members, your silence as a body in not addressing the following actions of Councilman Mischins makes it seem like you condone his unprofessionalism, divisiveness, and conflicts of interest with regards to specific topics wherein he directly benefits. Some examples of unprofessionalism is texting during city council meetings, mocking constituents during public hearings, including constituents and email responses with fellow council members wherein you disagree, call names, causing polarization. And this I have personal experience with. The Cardinal News article of October 25th quoted my email of May 8th of council members, verbally attacking city employees and watching while your supporter.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We'll now hear from a citizen regarding waste removal. Kathleen Davis, please restate your name and locality of residence.
I'm Kathleen Davis, and I'm a city resident. I'm here tonight concerned about waste. I'm concerned about Councilman Mischins is not just wasting our time and our attention, but actively seeking to harm our community by sowing hate and bigotry. I'm concerned that our city employees' time and talents are being wasted dealing with Mr. Mischins' efforts to insert himself into what are clearly matters legally designated to the city manager's office. And I'm concerned that Lynchburg City Council will waste an opportunity to do better by its citizens by continuing to allow Mr. Mischins to remain in his seat. We've had 11 months to see what kind of person Mr. Mischins is. And here tonight, Lynchburg citizens on both sides of the aisle have come out to tell City Council that enough is enough. Mr. Mischins, you have spent 11 months bullying your colleagues, including so many public instances that I would run out of time before I had enough to even touch 1% of them. You have spent 11 months intimidating city employees. Multiple employees have quit, and more are desperately looking for new jobs so they can work without threat and without harassment. It's an open secret that there has been a petition circulating since May to recall you from office. And so far, those efforts have collected over 1,700 signatures without the internet, without promotion, all by word of mouth. But the fact that 1,700 people have signed this petition is not what's the important part. The important part is that people have declined to sign this petition are not doing so because they disagree with the idea of you being removed from office. Rather, people are declining to sign this petition because they are scared of retaliation. I am scared of retaliation. If I had $1 for every time someone asked me on our team, will he be able to see my name and address? I'm worried he will come to my house. I could pay off the $1 million he's suing this city for. It is bad enough that citizens across the political spectrum acknowledge that Mr. Mission's time in office has been an unmitigated disaster. Instead, what is unconscionable is that Mr. Missions is using his position as an elected official to create a culture of fear and silence and opposition. People are scared, and they are scared because Mr. Missions has proven that he will retaliate, that he will harass, and that he will bully and target people he disagrees with. This is no longer about the difference in political beliefs. Are we a community whose elected officials will stand by while all these citizens are silenced, harassed, and intimidated? This can keep getting uglier and uglier, or you can pull the plug tonight, expel Mr. Missions, and limit his damage to this city. Our community cannot take another 37 months of this behavior. I know it, you know it, they know it. Mr. Missions has no business being in this role. A censure is not enough. Do the right thing. Vote this person off the payroll, and you won't be the first department in the city to do so.
Thank you. Now hear from a citizen regarding council members' official Facebook pages. Jeff Rosner.
Thank you. I'm Jeff Rosner, and I'm a citizen of Lynchburg. It has been said you are entitled to your own opinions, but not your own facts. This advice has not been followed on Councilmember Mission's official Facebook page. Here are some examples. Last Thursday, quote, "For decades, Democrats and leftists have been proclaiming a constitutional separation of church and state that doesn't exist in the Constitution," unquote. In fact, the First Amendment to the Constitution says, "Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion." And it is not only Democrats and leftists that say separation of church and state exists. So does the Supreme Court has said so. Another example, last Wednesday, quote, "A vehicle-borne explosive device was used in a terrorism attack against our border operations," unquote. These are the facts. Although the investigators of the incident at Niagara Falls considered terrorism as one possibility, they never concluded that there was terrorism. And now they have ruled out terrorism. October 8th, quote, "The Biden administration cleared the release of $6 billion to Iran in September," unquote. In fact, none of the money has been released, and the money is frozen. April 26th, he posted that the schools put on a production that openly mocks the vast Judeo-Christian majority in our city, unquote. In fact, the production of the musical play The Prom did just the opposite. There were characters in the play that expressed stereotypes about Christians, and the play makes fun of those characters, not of anyone else. These Facebook posts raise the question, are these an appropriate use of official communications, which include the official Facebook pages of council members? Thank you.
Thank you very much. We'll now hear from a citizen regarding the Board of Education. Andrea Hurt. She's not here? Okay. We'll hear from a citizen regarding the conduct of City Council Member Marty Missions. Kimberly Wynn.
Kimberly Wynn, Ward 4, council members.
I remember a news item a few months back, Vice Mayor Feraldi, where you recorded a private conversation with a U.S. congressman, a fellow Republican, without his knowledge. It was FOIA'd by media outlets and exposed, but I have to wonder how they knew about this recording since the conversation was private. I am also aware of a number of other instances where certain council members secretly recorded conversations in meetings and/or attempted to ask others to do so on their behalf. At best, accusations against Councilman Misjuns are stunningly hypocritical, as I have witnessed divisive and contentious behavior from many council members of this council. The citizens of Lynchburg desperately need him to stay because he has been aggressively going after corruption in the city. I moved to Lynchburg spring of 2022. Up until that move, I lived my whole life in Los Angeles. One trend I observed there was a steady increase of taxes and at the same time increased reports of government corruption. Bleeding citizens with exorbitant taxes and government corruption go hand in hand. I was disturbed when I discovered that the Lynchburg real estate tax, even after it had been lowered, is still higher than the tax rate in Los Angeles. The total government fees I paid on my car in California the year before I left was $298. Total fees for the same car here in Lynchburg was nearly $500. I realized I had exchanged a large corrupt city for a small corrupt city. I was thrilled when the city council flipped majority Republican, expecting all Republican council members to work together to deal with this insidious issue. But this has not been the case. Some of you are doing this, and for that I thank you. Councilman Misjuns has led the charge, going through city and school budgets, exposing overspending, misappropriation of funds, and addressing the disturbing trend with the LPD of being seriously understaffed at a time of increased gun violence. In addition, he is aggressively going after evil agendas in our school system, specifically curriculum and policies that promote transgenderism and what most rational people would consider gross perversion. Suggesting to young children that there may be something wrong with them because they were born in the wrong body is evil and abusive. And further suggesting that they might be happier if their bodies underwent, quote, gender-affirming medical care is criminal. What this euphemistic term translates to is giving minors puberty-blocking chemicals that permanently damage their endocrine system and surgically removing breasts and penises. I don't care if you are Republican or Democrat. We should all agree that policies in our school system that endorse this for minors is pure evil. And Councilman Misjuns has been fighting this aggressively. Disrupting the status quo is a messy battle against an entrenched, corrupt establishment. Asking Councilman Misjuns to step down for doing what others on this council have done is absurd and hypocritical. Thank you.
And I hear from a citizen regarding general comments on current Lynchburg issues. Mr. Peter Seferati.
Good evening. Hi. Thanks for taking the time to listen to me. I want to talk about the status quo, too. It's defined as the current state of things. Before January, Lynchburg had a different status quo, and it seems like many here tonight are yearning for the good old days in city leadership. The days of the supermajority that did many good things, I'm sure. They also gave us higher taxes to finance expensive brick streets and sidewalks while ignoring turnover in first responder departments. School boards were appointed to study and discuss declining test scores, declining teacher morale, declining classroom order, all leading to declining enrollment as parents move their kids into private schools. Then there's the young people around here with a dim view of the future and the rising crime rate that nobody seems to be doing anything about. I hope I'm wrong about that. I'm telling you, there are a whole lot of us folks in town who voted for the end of this old status quo. They turned the city council around and are still looking for some of the promised results in the areas of school, crime, finances, and sound plans for the future. And I'll tell you that Councilman Misjuns is the one person on this dais who has worked the hardest to shine light on past waste, secret dealings, and efficiencies. Mr. Misjuns is no doubt a gruff, unrelenting champion of the principles of the people who elected him. But he's representing the people that elected him. His style reflects the frustration that we all feel. Since January, I've listened to many speakers revile council members with insults, snarky comments, unproductive rants. Perhaps if they asked Marty why he conducts himself so confrontationally, if they did, we citizens could make some, he'd be able to explain why he's so frustrated with what's going on and the lack of response to his questions to city government, et cetera. Perhaps we citizens would make allies instead of enemies if we approach people that we don't approve with and kind of had coffee with them and find out where they're coming from and why. Marty can and will discuss his positions in Lynchburg. He's a good communicator. He actually answers questions. I prefer his proactive style to the unresponsive, dismissive, blank stares of some of you all on this dais. We never get any answers. No communication. Mr. Missions, don't listen to the partisan voices who only use negativity to advance their position. And in closing, I'd just like to say that I'm waiting expectantly to hear Jeff give us the comprehensive rundown on Joe Biden's use of his facts. Thank you and good night.
Thank you very much. Okay, moving on to general business. Consideration of adoption of a resolution to censure Councilman Marty Missions for misconduct and disorderly behavior. I hereby move to adopt the resolution as presented to censure Councilman Marty Missions for misconduct and disorderly behavior. Do I have a second?
I think that goes to the bottom of the
No,
general business.
The motion was to put it at the top. Do I have a second on the motion for the censure?
Second.
Okay. Vice Mayor Ferrell.
Unless you two wanted to speak, I had a request.
You can go ahead.
Would it be a friendly amendment to approve the resolution and title it the 2022 Missions Executive Order of Lynchburg City Council? Abbreviated would be the 2023 MEO of Lynchburg City Council. Would that be friendly?
I hear you, but I think we can leave it as it is, but thank you. So noted. I'll speak to my motion real quick. So on October 9th, council saw that I sent out a letter from my position as mayor to Councilman Missions regarding my thoughts on some of his recent behavior. My position still stands, so my thoughts were made known from my position individually. This will give my fellow council members an opportunity to share their concerns. Many of them have shared their concerns with me so far. We've heard from many citizens tonight, but outside of tonight, we've all had emails, we've all had phone calls, many of us have been stopped, for months now, not just since October. So this is giving us as a body of council members an opportunity to discuss this on behalf of the thousands of citizens that we represent. So this is not me, this is the body discussing our thoughts and opinions on the behaviors that are outlined in this resolution. And again, that was discussed by the majority of council members. So with that, further discussion. Dr. Wilder?
Thank you for the information. I'm from Lynchburg, so I've been here all my life other than going to college. I have never seen a council quite like this. Well, I haven't seen a council like this at all in my lifetime. It has burdened me. We have a heart of Lynchburg and a heart of compassion for our people. It burdens you to see all the hostility going forth. Ever since January the 1st, it has been challenging. When I go to an event, it's almost like I've had a death. And majority of people come up to me and say, "Oh, I'm so sorry what has happened to you. I'm so sorry what's happened to our city." Again, even the Virginia Cardinal has talked about Lynchburg, in a mockery way. It's a bad light on our city, and we need to kind of fix that. One thing that I have seen is positive is that he has united Republicans and Democrats together. to say, we're tired of this. I've never seen so many Republicans and Democrats, thank God, to come together and say, we need to change this in our community. The verse said, and the thing about it is, I'm a Christian. And the Christ that I serve does not treat people like that. I don't know, but I thank God for my father, who was a pastor in our community. He taught me about love. He taught me about showing compassion to people. And the Christ that I serve does not act that way. But again, I'm not judging people. I'm just thanking God for my father, who taught me about true love and compassion for one another and how children of God are supposed to act. So I'm so thankful for that. So again, that's my comments. I'm sorry for our city that we have to spend all this time dealing with this. There's so much going on with kids needing this and crime going here and all the other situations that are going on in our community. We got to spend time on discussing this for the past almost hour. And then also we got to deal with this every meeting. And not just the meetings, we get all the emails back and forth. Y'all, it's depressing when you get all the emails from each other. It's horrible that you got to deal with that continuously. We have him every other week, we have meetings, but then you got emails going back and forth. I just watch them. I don't respond to them, because if you respond to them, you get attacked. So I don't respond to them, but it goes back and forth, emails to one another. But anyway, I'm sorry. Excuse me.
Councilwoman Dolan.
I love this city, and I love serving this city, but the last 11 months have not been so much fun. For me, this is about our community. It's about our moms, our dads, our children, who are in tune to the elected officials of the city. Our city council has a long history of civility. The image that we project as we conduct business to our city speaks of who we are as trusted elected officials. Part of our job is to demonstrate behaviors that are representative of moral, ethical, and rational adults. The past 11 months have been a disaster due to the distractions, staff humiliation, belligerent and threatening treatment of peers and community members by Councilmember Mishkins. I can tell you, same as Councilmember Wilder said without hesitation, that I cannot go anywhere in this community without citizens from all political affiliations cornering me and asking me the same question. Why do you not, as a city council member, do something about the actions of Councilmember Mishkins? And it's always terribly embarrassing, and I never really have a good answer. A number of citizens have shared with me that they fear retaliation, and I think Ms. Davis talked about that too, and they fear calling him out because they're afraid, they don't feel safe. That is just not acceptable. We should never have a citizen be fearful of an elected official. I mean, this community deserves better than that. It really does. Perhaps this censure will assist in affecting change in the behavior of Councilmember Mishkins. As an elected official, he has the responsibility to behave in a manner that is reflective of the office to which he was elected. For all the reasons that the community came out and spoke tonight, this evening, and my personal belief that we cannot conduct the business of this city going forward with the continuance of all the distractions that we've had to deal with the past 11 months. For that reason, I will support this censure. Thank you.
Councilman Helgeson.
Thank you. You know, Matthew 18 teaches us that when somebody wrongs you, what do? Go to Cardinal News? Is that what we're supposed to do? Go to WSET? We write emails to other people? Or do we go to that person who wronged you? The very thing. When somebody wrongs you, you go to that person if you felt you've been wronged. You don't broadcast it to feel like your feelings were hurt or whatever. You go to that person. Simple. As a Bible-believing Christian, that's what you do if you're going to follow the instructions that Jesus gave us in Matthew 18. And we think, oh, this is so good. Oh, he has been so evil. But what did we hear tonight? Do we hear unity? We heard people getting up and saying, we need to revoke the charter for LRCC. We need to ask council members to be removed. We need Rich Anderson to resign. We're attacking a citizen in the audience. The peacemakers. I don't know where that came from. Talking about allegations as though they were gospel and kept on going with it in a public meeting. Yeah, that comes together nicely, doesn't it? This has been a fabulous circus created here. Another person that's in the audience, Josh Pratt, was attacked by somebody else. Neat. These were really nice, all divisive comments. And they say, we're doing it out of love, even though we're going to attack Congressman Good. Even though in this tirade that I've heard over the last 30 minutes, we're attacking Lynchburg voters that voted Republican. They don't know what they're doing. We're attacking, calling people waste removal. Nice one. Calling people bully, but acting like you're not the bully for calling them the bully. Acting and getting up here forcibly and just emphatically of how petrified and fearful you are for retaliation as you confront the person, waving your fist and kicking them in the shins and doing whatever. We heard the names being called. We heard people attacking, calling it evangelical Christians are so divisive. I look at this last meeting and I think, what has happened? I've served on council for almost 20 years. I've never seen anything like this. And with this, we're hearing citizens get up and we're seeing fire still being stoked rather than just communicating. A long time ago, we had one person on council, the only thing that we've ever had of any level, one person that was charged with lots of felonies, charged with not paying their water bill, electric bill, all these taxes and whatnot. And that was handled really quietly because people didn't want to say anything. They had decorum and didn't say anything. I brought it up respectfully and was shot down. I brought it up ahead of time. I didn't bring some surprise resolution to say, oh, we can attack. I didn't try to get a whole bunch of people in the audience to come up and call names and be divisive. We got lots of things. And when you come up and you're using this divisive rhetoric, only to say that that side is mean, it's unconscionable. It's look in the mirror when you're calling people names. I was so appreciative when we hear some of the people that get up and said, that's what we need to do. We need some changes. What has taxes happened? Our taxes have done nothing but go up. Spending has gone through the roof. What did we campaign on this last time? Taxes were too high. We need to do something. Guess what? We did something about it. Did it just happen? Was it easy? Was it fun? We had people outside protesting for 3 meetings. Oh my goodness, the sky was going to fall if you lowered taxes. Oh, woo, the city is going to go out of business. And what did we do? We lowered taxes. What did we debate today? Let's spend another $8 million on an amphitheater downtown that we've never even looked at the actual fiscal impact if it's going to generate revenue to pay for it. But we could spend that on that. We looked at other things that we said about crime. We said the citizens aren't safe. What did we do about it? Well, what we've done is we've incentivized our police department. We've given raises when some people said, oh, they're going to cut the funding to the police. We had somebody lied to the attorney general and said, oh, that's what these Republicans are doing. Meanwhile, the budget did what? Did it cut the funding to your police department, chief? I think it increased it. I think we now have the ability to attract more. We now have the police headquarters that's being built, being finished, hopefully by the next year and a half or so. We're addressing crime. We're looking at saying, let's make sure that we have people out there. Is it pretty? Is it fun? Is it fun to arrest a criminal? Oh man, just let him go? No, it's tough. It's tough work. Just like governing is tough work. Now, what about schools? What did we say? We need to improve education. Those are the 3 campaign platforms. Taxes are too high, citizens weren't safe, and the schools need to listen to parents. We got the chairman of the school board here that's been listening to parents. They've taken the bull by the horns, and lots of you have heard and praised the fact that they voted 7-2 to not have those silly policies, to not have those grants, but to actually look at what can we do to actually keep children safe. Somebody brings that up. Obviously, one side doesn't like it. What side doesn't like it? Side that thinks children should be preyed upon. What side doesn't like it? The side that says we respect children. We want to protect our children. Let's not go down this path. We're working to protect. We're working, and let's not have any more division. These meetings that are being crafted, these last-minute resolutions that are being thrown on here to censure, does nothing. I think we've witnessed this over the last hour. Thing after thing, there wasn't anything about somebody calling for loving Lynchburg together. It wasn't privately discussing, hey, I was offended by this comment. I wish you would deal with that. Or I was hurt by this. Or maybe we could do this. We had a resolution that was brought forward, diversity, equity, and inclusion, that would actually look at not having the city funding those types of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Brought forward. Well, that was nixed, even though it was going to be put on another meeting. But yet the majority now can say, because out of an animus towards one council member, and you may have many reasons. You have reasons to get rid of me. You have reasons to get rid of everyone up here. That's what happens at the ballot box. It isn't us deciding for the 70,000 people that live in Lynchburg, the 83,000 people or the 50,000 that can vote. That's their decision. They came up and said, we want some change. You know, lots of people didn't like Donald Trump because, oh, he was mean. Oh, my goodness. I'm glad somebody brought up the fact of what's Joe Biden done to the economy. My goodness, there are differences. We have differences of opinion. We have differences of tactic. We have differences. Let's really hopefully finish this tonight. Don't vote to censure. Vote for you to talk. Vote to you to have private conversations. Vote to pull our community together in love. Let's rally around the fact that, man, we got Liberty playing in the conference championship this Friday. They actually may be playing, there's a good chance that they may be playing in a New Year's Eve Bowl this year. We have Thanksgiving that just happened. Let's be thankful. We got, Christmas is coming. And sure, we've had some things. We haven't had any things for months. Now, let's quit it. Let's be done with this. Let's vote against this resolution, take this off the table, move on to the business of the city, rather than tirading people up to call people names and demanding everybody and their brother needs to resign. Meanwhile, we need to get work done. We need to balance this budget. We need to live within our means. We need to make Lynchburg safer, and we need to improve our schools. We have been losing kids in the school system for decades. The school board is now taking action as far as consolidation. What did people do? Got up in arms. Don't close my school. Don't do this. Don't do that. It's ugly. Sausage making is ugly. Guess what? It's happening. We're doing work. Let's quit this personal tirade. This seems nothing but political theater. I literally didn't read this because this is the first time I've even seen this. Normally, I have something that's done. You get something a week before. You're able to review it. You're here. Hey, I'm going to bring this up. What do you think? Never once. No one phone call. Passed out in a little black envelope just now right before the meeting. Says, let's put this on the agenda. That's not a way to do things. I'm voting against this resolution. I hope you will consider tabling this resolution, discuss. Hopefully those of you who are voting for it because you're so distraught have at least had a one-on-one conversation with Councilmember Mischins. Hopefully you've done that. And then you can do it in good saving grace because you followed Matthew 18. You went to him privately. If that didn't work, you then went to him with somebody else and you had two. And if that didn't work, if it worked, you won a brother. If it didn't, but at least you need to stand up to your own, that you did it appropriately. If not, you better vote against this, or I'm going to move before lightning strikes and hits you, and I'm a negative effect of it. So I hope you vote against this resolution. It's silly, and it's bad, and it's wrong.
Vice Mayor Feraldi.
Now that there's oxygen left in the room, I'd like to kindly point out that Councilman Helgeson and I have had an interesting professional relationship these last 3.5 years. And I don't believe our relationship was on the rocks in any sense prior to Councilmember Mischins getting involved. I do believe this should be titled the 2023 Mischins Executive Order for Lynchburg City Council, because at the core, this body must protect the integrity and public reputation of the body above all else. And there is no more higher precedent for a legislative body to do just that. I have fallen short on many occasions. I'm not perfect. I've never claimed to be perfect. And I would humbly submit that it is the number one objective of this body to protect the reputation of the city above all else. And I do not believe that the actions we've seen the last 11 months, I do not believe the actions we've seen the last 11 months can go unaddressed. And Matthew 18 applies to the church, as was articulated before. Now, I do tend to believe that, respectfully disagree with Mr. Rossner, but that's okay. But even still, Matthew 18 applies to the church. And I will be voting to protect and defend the reputation of this body tonight. And with that, Madam Mayor, I would make a motion to call the question.
Did that point of order, if that motion's out of order since not everybody has spoken?
I know it is, I'm still making it.
Yes. Marty, we campaigned together. We campaigned together hard to have a majority on council. I love you, brother, but your attitude has been out of order. Okay? We need to bring it in. And if you would make an open apology to council, to city staff, and we could just do this little resolution and move forward. We could start all over again. Easy. Easy, my brother. Okay? Easy. And we can get it done. We can get it, because you bring some of the best items to the table. The best items. But we gotta be easy. You know what they say in Washington? They say, well, if the Republicans got a good idea, let's put it off until we make it ours. And then we vote on it. Then we have something good. And they do that. Like I said, you bring some of the best ideas to the table. But you gotta be easy, my brother. Okay? I love you, man. We can get it done. So I'm gonna censure you tonight, but you're gonna get past it, because it's gonna be better. Okay? That's what we're gonna do. Thank you.
Councilman Mischins?
Brother, I'm already past it.
Okay.
Already passed it.
Okay.
Because I know that you're honest with me. And there's only one other person on this dais who is honest, other than you. So, and quite frankly, I'm not concerned about the outcome of this vote. I will continue to fight for the taxpayers, and more importantly, the children in our city. I appreciated the vice mayor's comments, but when he said the number one objective of this body was to kind of like represent itself, I can't disagree with that more, because we don't get elected by the 7 of us. We get elected to represent the citizens. You know, I find it ironic that this comes after, in the work session earlier, I actually proposed Religious Liberty Month for January, and I handed a request for a proclamation to the mayor, right? And I also proposed an ordinance to protect minors by prohibiting them from being present for sexually charged performances. And I gave a letter to the city attorney detailing exactly what I wanted to see. I've given a copy of all those documents, as well as my roll call speech, to the clerk and asked her to submit them to the public record. And I actually asked her in the letter to upload them directly to Civic Clerk with the work session, so they are publicly available for everyone to see. And I will just go ahead and release those documents sometime this evening for everybody to review. So I just find it very interesting and concerning that this resolution of censure would come immediately following a stand for religious liberty and a stand to prevent children in our city from being perverted by a sick agenda. You know, if that's resulting in a censure, that was worth it. You know, I'm also going to continue to expose improprieties and cronyism inside our government bureaucracy. You know, something that's interesting to me, and I'm not going to point at any specific individual or name, but, you know, there's all the emails going around between myself and the mayor. Actually, I got it right here. There was some interesting redactions applied to those emails. And thanks to a reporter who I will not say who that reporter was, I actually have a copy of the code section that was used when these emails were given to them via public records request, and it says all items of a personal nature which were not public business were redacted under Virginia Code Section 2.23701. And then it defines what a public record is, and since it says, since there were items of a personal nature which did not meet the criteria of public business, those items were redacted. Further, personal contact information was redacted, et cetera, et cetera. So the emails that were released via FOIA that I know for a fact, because I actually have evidence of the mayor directing people, a screenshot that was given to me, citizens to use FOIA to look for certain things, they redacted an entire email that I sent to her in a reply. The entire email. And coincidentally, if you read that whole email, right, it is kind of similar in the grievances that I have, that she had towards me, issues, concerns, right, that I had towards her. But there's one difference, right? The difference is I sent it directly to her. I didn't copy everybody else because I was trying to take it back to one-on-one. And I also said to feel free to copy everyone else if you want to, but as far as I'm concerned, it's between the two of us. Because I knew exactly what was going to happen, because I also have been watching things for 11 months. You know, for years in this city, until last November, a small number of politically astute people in our city elected our city council. The result was a Democrat supermajority all the time. So yeah, this looks totally different. Never, to my knowledge, in the history of Lynchburg City Council have we had a working class Ward 3 former city employee at large member on city council. And I can tell you, I'm pretty certain that that probably frightened a lot of city staff. And I can see why. I understand that. It's just common sense because you don't typically deal well with being here on the food chain and having somebody go from here to here, right? So I get that. So I'm sure that there's been concerns there with that. And if you only knew what I knew, if you only knew what I knew, I got a whole list of things written down here that should never happen with your taxpayer dollars. And I want to sit here and read through them one by one. I do, but I'm not going to do it because it's not worth it. Because no matter what happens here, I'm not going to stop watching. Because I know who we represent and who this entire government workforce works for. And when it goes off the rails, right? And when they start looking out for themselves, and they're not looking out for you. And they always, let me tell you, they're really good at telling you that they're always looking out for you. They're really good at it. Excellent orators. They're professionally trained for this. But, you know, and I think they're highly talented. We've got some great people here, right? But there's a lot of factual inaccuracies with this as well. You know, I read through it. Is a question a threat? You know, you're not allowed to speak back to me. You can answer, nod your head up and down. Is a question a threat? No, a question is not a threat. And again, the things will start getting released to back this up. So, and then another question is, on the second clause where it says, I attempted to illegally impose authority, in quotes, in city personnel matters that are, by law and contract, within the purview of the city manager. Well, I'm trying to understand how going back into a closed session, well, I had to fight to get the closed session, for one. And then there was a demand that the closed session information be revealed in an email, right? They wanted me, and I said, no, you don't put in writing something you want in a closed session for a legitimate reason and a legitimate purpose. We went back in the closed session, we had a discussion, right? And I can't reveal what we discussed, but obviously, we all voted to go into closed session to have discussions. I am allowed to have my one-on-ones with the city manager and discuss concerns with him, and I'm thankful for that time with him, and it's enjoyable. And I am so glad we switched it to breakfast. So glad we switched it to breakfast. I look forward to it every month. But, you know, it's just interesting to me how this is coming out. And, you know, in addition to that, the whereas clause that says the councilman has also lacked decorum and decency while engaging fellow members of the council, I'll give him that one. I'll give him that one. I'll take that. I'll take that hit. Whereas the councilman attempted to solicit assistance for conducting a setup for a colleague's town hall meeting with the intent of making a colleague look bad. That was an entire 30-minute conversation I'm not going to get into. But this is definitely politically motivated, ignores the fact that Vice Mayor Feraldi was actually on body cam asking a police officer to go spy on Elgison across the street with the body cam. Completely ignores that. So there's that. And then we've also heard the mention of he recorded Congressman Good's conversation. And then that's a public record, I suppose. I worked for the city for 15 years. Let me tell you something. They're not archiving people's recorded phone conversations. It's not happening. The only way somebody would have known about that is if he told them about that, right? And that would be the only way that they know to ask for it. So this is, I'm just going to hit it with the facts as it is. I know I'm going to get censured tonight. The decision was made in a back room behind closed doors. And I would even say, looking at this, just because I've looked at so much of this stuff and know that this was written by a city employee. This was not written by the mayor. This was not written by the vice mayor. This was written by a city employee. I would bet the fine on it. And, you know, so be it. So this is what happens. You go to the polls. You elect who you want to elect, right? They try to actually do what you want them to do. They try to promote change. Everybody wants change in government. Government doesn't work. It's broken. Our economy is falling apart. You want things to do better? Invest in the private sector. Get government out of the way, right? That is how things work. Government doesn't solve all of our problems. There is a necessity for government to protect our rights. There is a necessity for government to defend our nation and public safety. But there's a lot of money and a lot of special interests involved here too. A ton of it. So much. Nonprofits. We had somebody attack a nonprofit that, in my mind, has been doing good work in the community tonight from the public comment. What do you call that thing? That one. Lectern? Yeah, from the lectern. And in my interpretation of the rules of procedure, that shouldn't have been allowed. This doesn't need to be a place where we just come to humiliate each other or humiliate people. Yeah, I'll tell you what. If there's somebody that is going to harm our children, I will point it out. I'm not going to appoint somebody to the school board that doesn't have values that I agree with, right? I got elected to do that because schools weren't listening to parents. And the sick stuff that I've found that your tax dollars are paying for, I would say that the racial division in this community comes primarily from places where your tax dollars are spent. Period. Right? Because when you get away from government and you get people together into rooms and groups and you talk, you get along. Where do we hear about all this? It's always here we hear about it, right? Do we have a problem with violence in our city? Absolutely. Absolutely. But, hey, where'd a lot of this stuff come from? Well, government housing, right? There's a lot of violence in government housing. Government started government housing. That's where those problems come from, right? Just so on and so forth. We could keep going. But when we get together outside of here in rooms and we have community, things start to improve. We actually have dialogue. See, the issue is though, like, and going back to that government housing thing, it's that we haven't fixed it. There's so many, the gas in Deerington, that's been going on for years, right? All of these issues. Government created a lot of these issues. What we need to be doing is we need to be protecting people. We need to be keeping our kids safe. We need to be giving a quality education. We need to do it without strangling our citizens with high taxes that are outrageous, right? Guess what? Newsflash. You actually have an elected representative that knows what it feels like to struggle to make ends meet. I can tell you right now, the rest of these folks, I would say that they probably don't know what that's like. So I just find it very interesting that the mayor from Boonesboro is trying to impose a fine, because that's when this passes, I am going to have to pay a 1 month's salary for city council, which is I think $10,000 a year for us, to the city, right? So you have a Boonesboro mayor who's imposing a fine on a working class member of our city. Absolutely outrageous. Absolutely outrageous. And it's just so unfortunate that it's come to this. But like I said, I'm not going to stop. I'm not going to stop fighting for the people that elected me. I'm not going to stop being convicted. And I'm not going to stop trying to protect our children. So with that being said, obviously, trying to go back to that conflict of interest thing. So you said that I have, that's up to me, but I could abstain because of,
So the decision whether to abstain if there's an issue under the Conflict of Interest Act is individual to each council member. So certainly if the Conflict of Interest Act provides for the minimums of abstaining from contracts, transactions, et cetera. So certainly if you think it's in your best interest to abstain from participating in on, you could. You know, I'm not aware of one thinking off the top of my head about it. And the reason I say that is similarly, if a council member was to vote for themselves to be mayor, it's not a conflict of interest, even though that there is some financial benefit. Yeah, exactly,
make a little more.
Because you make a little bit more. Same here, it's not necessarily a detriment or a benefit that's accruing, even though it's a fine in the terms of the Conflict of Interest Act. But if you don't think you should vote on it because you think there may be an issue under the Conflict of Interest Act, certainly you could ask to abstain.
so with that being said then, I guess I can make a disclosure, right, that I feel like I could vote on this.
You could.
Impartially, and the reason I feel like I can do that is because I'm going to voice the vote of my constituents who do not want me censured. And that is going to be my disclosure. I'm going to vote the voice of my constituents who do not want me censured. And I guess let's get on with it.
Vice Mayor Feroldi.
Just a couple brief points. Is a question or threat, is a question or directive a threat? According to Councilmember Missions, it is not. Quote, do you think we should go over there and see what he's saying? By Councilmember Missions' definition to the police officer I spoke to is therefore not directing him to do so. Furthermore, if a sitting congressman is going to call around to people I trust, and those people I trust contact me directly and say, hey, he's going to call you, and he's going to tell you you need to support so-and-so for mayor because they're wrestling mat buddies. And you need to be prepared for that. And I take that advice. Guess what? Better believe I'm recording that phone call, because I don't trust the man one bit. Finally, I find it a little bit hypocritical that the argument is that this was all done in a back room, so it should be fixed in a back room. Let's vote on this thing.
I will say this, just again for the record, this was not written by a city employee. So, outside counsel wrote this. So, I've said this many times, I've said this to several people in this room. Sometimes when you say things like a fact, it sounds like a fact. But a lot of times it's not. So, if you want to know the truth about many of the people up here, you should also follow Matthew 18 rather than listen to other people. It works all the way around. But we up here tonight are representing the citizens of the city. This resolution is not personal from me to Councilman Missions. This resolution is a combination of issues that have been addressed by council members, issues that have been brought up from citizens, again, as I mentioned previously, through emails, through calls. Councilman Missions has gotten emails that we've all been copying on. He knows exactly what this is in reference to. Emails that have been printed in articles many of you have read. None of this is a surprise. But we have been asked for months by people all across the city, including people that voted for Councilman Missions, by the way, to address his behavior. Because those of you who are parents in the room understand when you let a child get away with things and you don't address their behavior, they continue to misbehave. We have an obligation as a body to address bad behavior, poor behavior. This is not an effort to humiliate or embarrass. As Councilman Taylor said, hopefully this sets a precedent. We can move on. I know for a fact that Councilman Missions has been addressed and spoken to individually by many men, privately, and addressed about his behavior. I have not spoken to him by myself. I don't feel comfortable to do that, and I don't have to explain why. However, and I'm speaking, I'm speaking. Bottom line is, this resolution represents the citizens of the city. The body is now going to vote as representatives of the city. We're not speaking anymore. Please vote.
So just one thing.
No, I called the vote.
Well, no, you didn't call the vote.
I just voted. I just called the vote.
Good.
Completely lied to all of us.
So with it, one thing I
just
think has
called the
got to be
vote.
clear. My name was invoked previously. With that being the case,
Point of order. I called the vote.
just.
He's already spoken.
Yes, but my name was called. My name was
No, it was
called
not.
out. Yes, it
No, it
was.
was not.
Councilmember Faraldi did. Absolutely. And I haven't been able to speak since then.
Under the rules of procedure, if everyone's had an opportunity to speak on the issue,
Yep.
and a
Yes.
period of 30 minutes or so has
Correct.
passed,
Correct.
So
the
just,
question can be called.
so just one quick thing, if
No.
I may, for
No.
decorum.
Okay, it's enough. I've called the, yes.
No, we're going to hit the buttons like we normally
Let's
do.
go ahead and vote, please.
Motion passes 5-2.
Okay. Moving on. The next section is general business. Well, we are under general business. We'll now go on to the consideration of introducing a resolution amending the fiscal year 2024 city, federal, state aid fund budget and appropriating $102,500 to be used as one-time retention bonus and an incentive in the emergency services recruiting process. This item went to our Finance Committee earlier today, and I will defer to the chair of that committee, Vice Mayor Faraldi. Go ahead.
Thank you. Would it be possible if we read all 4 of these together? They were all unanimous and came out of Finance Committee. Would it be uncouth to read them all together and vote on them in block?
It would be.
It would be?
Yes, keep them separate. They're all separate.
It would be the first reading,
Yes,
but we can do it
exactly.
individually. As I just said, this item did go to Finance Committee. It did pass unanimously, and I do thank Ms. Foster for sticking around and being with us, and encourage everyone to support it.
And does not require a second. Any other discussion? No? Okay, let's vote. Okay. Consideration of introducing a resolution amending the fiscal year 2024 city, federal, state aid fund budget and appropriating $3,000 to support emergency services, GIS services, and software. This item went to our Finance Committee earlier today, and I will defer to the chair of that committee, Vice Mayor Faraldi.
The same as before, Madam Mayor, I do so move.
Okay, this does not require a second. Any discussion? Okay, let's vote. Consideration of introducing a resolution amending the fiscal year 2024 city federal state aid fund budget and appropriating $29,707 for the purchase of security cameras and front counter upgrades for the Lynchburg Registrar's Office. This item went to our Finance Committee earlier today, and I will defer to the chair of that committee, Vice Mayor Feraldi.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The same as before, I will speak to this just a little bit briefly. This will just enhance the Registrar's Office and their work, provide them a little bit extra security, and of course, with the increased use of absentee and early vote, these security improvements will certainly be a benefit to those ballots and their integrity getting to wherever they go once they get to the Registrar's Office.
Yes, great.
I do so move.
Okay, this does not require a second. Any discussion? Okay, please cast your vote.
The motion passes 7-0.
Okay. Consideration of introducing a resolution amending the fiscal year 2024 city federal state aid fund budget and appropriating $70,000 to fund equipment for the fire department technical rescue team. This item went to our Finance Committee earlier today, and I will defer to the chair of that committee, Vice Mayor Feraldi.
Thank you. Chief did bring us up to speed on this, and the committee did unanimously support it. As such, I do so move.
Okay, this does not require a second. Any discussion? Okay, please cast your vote.
The motion passes 7-0.
Okay, the last item on our agenda would be, we added the citywide curfew to the end of general business. Or, I don't know if you were here earlier. We did.
We didn't at the beginning of the meeting.
We did it by consensus during the work session.
Gotcha, thank you.
So we discussed that earlier during the work session to extend the curfew to June 1st. So unless there's further discussion, I just need a motion to. So moved.
Move for approval.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any further do you want to speak to her first? Okay. Any further discussion? Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Jeff.
No?
I was pointing to Jeff if you want.
Councilor Hudson?
Oh, as I said this afternoon, I helped, I'm glad that we had this. I think it was very good. It was timely, it was needed, but it was needed for a time. Many times when government sets an ordinance or a law, it's rarely revisited. I'm glad that we had this to actually sunset, which means it expires unless council takes action. I watched this, I was very hopeful and saw those first few months that happened when school was out. I saw the arrest numbers, the charges, those things, but they had a steady decline to where it went to 1 or 2 or whatever the new updated number was this month. So I think it served its purpose. And I think just like many things, we need to recognize that there are purposes for laws and purposes to not have them continue. I recognize that there are some figures that were out there that looks like that causation and correlation go hand in hand. I don't think that's necessarily the case. It may be. It may all been kids that are under 18 that are doing all the crime, which means there's a huge decline in crime just because the 18-year-olds are off the street. But continuing it, I think, would be better served if we continued it again next summer as opposed to now. I think it served its purpose. I was glad we had it. I'm glad we had that sunset provision in there so things don't just stay on the books forever. And once they're on there, they're hard to get away. A temporary program, as I think Ronald Reagan said, the most permanent thing in existence is a temporary government program. So we had a temporary solution. I thought that was good. Maybe it can work still this next 6 months. I think would be best to be utilized in the summertime when the kids are out of school, when it's not 20 degrees outside and people are staying inside. I think it served its purpose the first time. Glad to support it, glad to champion it, actually. But doing it again, I think we can wait until next summer, so I'll be voting against it.
Okay. Vice Mayor Feraldi?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I have similar thoughts to Councilmember Helgeson. I do believe it is an extra tool in the toolkit for our law enforcement officers to use. However, I do not believe it is an appropriate one. And I do thank the law enforcement officers for utilizing it in presumably a appropriate way and not over use. And yet, I do have concerns with continuing this policy again, similar to Councilmember Helgeson's arguments, primarily for the fact that I can't tell by the data that this was a direct correlation to a diminish in youth crime. I do see a diminish in crime overall. If we had more demographic information specifically to age and really nothing more, we would be able to articulate more about the effectiveness of the curfew itself. And so with that, in a continuation of opposing it from the outset, I will be opposing it at this point. Thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? No? Okay, I'm going to support it just because I said earlier, I think the chief recommended additional time to get a complete circle of data. That would be 12 months of it, and our Commonwealth's attorney as well, she recommended that. So for that reason, I'll be supporting it. So let's go ahead and vote.
Motion passes 4-3.
Okay. Okay, this meeting is adjourned. Our next meeting will be a council retreat held this Friday, December 1st at 9:30 a.m. in the Information Technology Conference Center at 3550 Young Place.